Collective. It's been a long time. It's been about 2 months since my last post. I had a lot of technical difficulties. My phone, computer, everything has been hijacked, basically. I'll just leave it at that. And I'll get more into this story as time goes on and I have the liberty to do so, or I'm inspired to do so. Right now, I'm trying to keep everything more or less on the down low, or the hush hush, for tactical reasons more than anything. I'm not trying to give out too much information, but at the same time trying to give the collective as much as I possibly can. So anyway, I want to start off by doing a complete week's reading. Unfortunately, this particular week, the 9th through the 15th, Sunday through this coming Saturday, is one that is dealing mostly with the karmic energies once again. We had a couple of good weeks before I was forced to stop, where it looked like everything was really starting to come to a conclusion, and I still believe that to be true, even based upon this particular reading. But the energies being overall very negative is telling me that all hell's breaking loose in the karmic camps. So, and what I'm getting from this overall reading, basically, and I'm doing the runic reading first for the week. Then I'll do a daily for today, Sunday. And after that, I will then go ahead and probably do a tarot reading. If not today, I'll certainly pick that up again tomorrow. But I'm going to start incorporating other aspects of this divination in turn, to help you better understand some of the things that the runes themselves are signifying, or what they represent. So I'm going to give you a little bit about their magical connotations, not going into how to apply it as much as what they can be utilized in to produce magically, and so on and so forth, as well as Nordic numerology versus Mediterranean numerology, and they are not the same. In fact, there is a lot of differences. I'll just leave it at that, between as far back as we can possibly go and get some real hard evidence and historical renderings in terms of what they really believed, 2,000 years ago in the Nordic world, because it was highly, I guess you could say, in some ways, it was almost erased, once they were Christianized. Despite their best attempts and everything else, and with the exception of a few very small, amount of alcoves that have maintained tradition and so on over long periods of time. For the most part, as the monks Christianized, most of Scandinavia, Iceland, and many other Nordic enclaves, they were systematically also erasing a lot of the Nordic culture. So, and it's just a rule of thumb, it's what they did, by removing their heritage and everything else and replacing it with the new belief systems and everything else. And believe me, I'm not speaking ill of Christendom at all. I'm a believer as well. I mean, I'm honest in the sense that I have taken literally the best of all, the world's belief systems, including indigenous ones, that I come to know and recognize and understand, and as I read and I speak, to others who have practiced it and everything else, to gain a better understanding of it all. That's neither here nor there. To get back to the reading specifically, what we have is an overall energy for the week. We're looking at Gibo. Now, I don't know if you can really see that or not. Yeah, Gibo is one of the 9 that looks identically in either direction, upright or reversed. I draw lots typically to verify my particular gut feelings in terms of what it is it's representing, upright or reversed energy. And, that helps me to verify it. And indeed, this is actually showing that this is in the reverse. So Gibo in the reverse, which represents number 7 numerologically, for the Nordic world, but number 7 means something completely different than the typical tarot or what Mediterranean numerology. Number 7 is the number of death and passive contact with the other worlds, basically. 7 is the night interval, which is traditionally practiced between death and the performance of the ritual rites. So it's not seen much in mythology. We don't have a lot to, derive from it. I just want to implement it as I develop my own system, which I am developing. I'm not going with any traditional specific, way of doing these things. I'm allowing my inner knowing to guide me in all of this. Okay. But what does Gibo mean in the reverse? It means that basically there is a problem, basically of an emotional nature, getting to the root of what it is that's creating this resistance or these problems. And I'm presuming this is within the karmic mindset and not your own, although it could, depending. We probably have some cross-watchers out there. What it also talks about is greed, loneliness, dependency. It talks about perhaps over-sacrificing. It talks about sense of obligation and toil. It talks about being in a state of privation, not having enough, whether real or imaginary. And bribery, talking your way or paying your way out of situations you've created. I know that's not my collective. So again, there's lots of clues that this indeed is referring to the karmic aspect and not, my collective per se, but it's somebody that definitely has an influence upon your energetic, field in some capacity. Who it is yet, don't know. We're still trying to discover that. Now, the overall energy for today is Lagos, and Lagos in the reverse looks like this. So again, we have 6 out of the 8 runes that I pulled for the week, basically talking about negative energy, okay, or in reverse. Now the overall for the week is what I just shared, Gibo in the reverse. Now for today, Sunday the 9th, Lagos in the reverse talks about somebody who's trying to escape their circumstances, escape their way of thinking, or the thoughts that they're being forced to deal with, emotions they're forced to deal with, and so on and so forth. It talks about temptation, talks about greed, it talks about acting in ways that is against one's own consciousness, conscience. So again, these are all indicators. It is not the collective, but somebody very closely associated to you, whether you are aware of it or not. Okay. It also talks about a period of confusion, possibly making wrong decisions, and having poor judgment. It talks about a lack of creativity and feeling in a rut or cornered somehow. It talks about fear, very low vibrational energy, feeling like you're moving in circles, unable to get out of this, situation in some way, avoiding, people and situations, circumstances, things of that nature. It talks about feeling a sense of withering away, maybe madness even setting in. It talks about obsessions, and that could mean a whole litany of different things. So it talks about feeling in despair, perversity, talks about sickness, physical as well as mental and spiritual, possibly feeling even suicidal. And I hope that's nobody in my collective. I don't believe that it is. Generally, you guys are vibrating at a higher rate. So again, this is somebody though that knows you. And if you're watching this, that means some aspect of this does pertain to you. All right. Now, in terms of magical connotations, when we're looking at Lagos basically talks about femininity or the feminine side of energy, basically intuition being a part of that, water-based, or cups in tarot. So it's used magically to increase your ability to see, to be intuitive, building up that third eye, so to speak. Okay. Now, as far as tomorrow's energy, or Monday, the 10th, which just happens to be the 250th anniversary of my alma mater, the Marine Corps. So I'll make a video on that a little bit later on too. But the energy for Monday is Ingwas. Now, Ingwas, again, is one of the 9 that it looks identical, upright or reversed. This represents the god Ing, or Freyr, is another name for him. And Freyr is the earth god of masculinity and so on. So what does it mean in the upright? Well, it talks about, of course, male masculinity. It talks about, being heroic, your potential. It talks about freedom, conclusions and consequences for your actions, male fertility, gestation, internal growth. Talks about common virtue, caring simple strengths. Talks about family love, la familia. Talks about common sense, human warmth, the home and self. Talks about rest. Talks about a time of relief. Talks about having no anxiety, and also a time basically where all loose ends are basically being tied off so that you can move freely in a direction that is, demic to your edification. So that is Ingwas in the upright for tomorrow. Now, magically, Ingwas is basically used in sexual rites, if you will. Again, dealing with more potency, fertility, masculinity, things of that nature. Okay. Now for Tuesday, we have the rune Degas. Degas, again, is one of the 9 that is the same, upright or reversed. And again, this one is in reverse. And what we have here is numerologically for today was 21, the number 21, which converts to number 3. And number 3 for Nordic numerology is a holy number. Okay, it represents, for example, the 3 Norns, the 3 roots of the world tree, Yggdrasil. It talks about Odin, Billy, and V brothers. Talks about, there's just a lot in Norse mythology that it represents. For Tuesday, we have the number 22 that represents Ingwas that I just told you about. And that translates into 4, of course. And 4 for Nordic numerology is basically that of stasis or solidity, waiting. Okay. Remember, Nordic numerology is harder to really find a lot of direct information about in comparison to the Mediterranean version. But it is not right to utilize one system specifically with the other system. It's not the way it was originally utilized. So we're trying to get to the root of what they actually believed, thousands of years ago versus what has been incorporated in the society after it's been Christianized, so to speak. We're just trying to be honest to the roots of all these different belief systems that we can be. Now, as far as Degas, the one I just shared for Tuesday's energy, that is number 23, or translates to the number 5. And 5 is a number of ancient time and space. We're talking about, they used to believe in Germanic week was 5 nights long. And it's also the interval basically where you were given to respond to a legal summons of some kind. It's rarely found in mythology, so it's harder to come up with anything specific about it. Now for Wednesday's energy, we have Manas, but Manas too is in the reverse. Now Manas speaks about selfishness, feeling uninvolved, victimhood, egoism, a sense of feeling alone and depressed, feeling your sense of mortality, blindness, self-delusion. And again, these are all karmic aspects or low vibrational attributes, characteristics, and traits. So these are traits that are describing somebody very close to you, whether you have perceived it yet or whether it's obvious or not yet. Somebody very close to you is in this energy. So keep that in mind. Maybe somebody that's trying to get back into your life, wants you to care for them, take care of them, if you will. We see a lot of that throughout this week's energy. It also talks about a sense of self-delusion, sense of cunning, deceptiveness, slyness, manipulation, craftiness. Talks about being calculated, and it also warns you that you can expect no help at this time. And again, this is not for the collective. This is for somebody within the energetic field of those watching in the collective. Okay. Now, magically, what man is, and it usually represents mankind or men, if you will, in general. What it means, magically, it's used to basically cultivate more of your own potential, okay? To bring forth, that which the world and you specifically could benefit from, okay? And that's what it's used for. And again, if you wish me to go deeper into the magical connotations of these things, I will, at another future point. Right now, I'm just having a hard enough time just finding ways of being able to, even post these things. All right, so Thursday, what we got again is Degas. So we got Degas twice this week, and both times it's in the reverse. So it stands again for basically attitude issues, radical changes, completion and endings of something, limits, coming full circle, a sense of feeling blind or hopeless. Okay, and you can look back to the Tuesday aspect to see, what it means magically. That way I can get through this a little bit quicker and so on. I'm already at almost 20 minutes. Now for Friday's energy, what we got is Othala. And Othala, again, is in the upright. Okay. Now Othala is magic, or number 24, which translates to number 6. And number 6 in Nordic mythology doesn't have a lot to go by, but it talks about vibrant life and strength. It can be used to create or destroy. That it's rarely found in the mythos, so I can't really elaborate beyond what I've been able to discover about that so far. So I'm just sharing the tidbits that I discover, and you can use that or not as you wish. Okay. But it would be a mistake to, bring Mediterranean numerology into the Nordic, belief in terms of the runes. It wasn't the same. So I want to make that clear. It's a little confusing from my perspective because I also do the tarot, which does implement it. So the systems, even though we want to believe that they're complete in and of themselves, they're evolving. And they have evolved, and they are not original in the sense that this is the way that they actually were at the inception of this information or knowledge. It goes much, much further back in time, I believe. Like I said, even the tarot, even though it's basically given during the Renaissance time as far as its adoption from a card game to actual divination, it can be seen as very, very close to things that they were utilizing in ancient Egypt. And I believe that particular culture goes much further back in history than what our typical historians would want us to believe. We've been lied to about so much. And when you look in truth, you really search for truth, you'll discover that as well. Alright, but anyway, back to Othala. First off, it represents the number 24, the number 6, like I've just stated. It's in the upright, so it talks about home, a house, property, heritage, dwelling. It talks about ancestral property, perhaps an inheritance of some type. We've seen that many times in the past couple of months. We talk about property or possessions. We talk about that which is truly important to the individual and to a group. So talk about group prosperity, and it talks also about the land of your birth. Okay. And there's so many different ways today in which, in order to find out what your heritage actually is. I didn't know a lot of my own heritage until fairly recently. So, and I've discovered a lot. I cover all of the known Western world. I mean, literally from the western portion of Russia all the way to Scotland, England, Ireland, to the Americas, even Spanish, Spain, all of Albania, near Turkey, Greece, all of Italy, so north and south. Got a lot of heritage, so knew nothing about. Now, magically, Othala is talking about, basically strengthens, oneself and the family bonds. So, if you're having issues with your family or you want to strengthen your ties with your family or loved ones, this is a particular rune that you would use in that type of manifestation. Helps to solidify and strengthen bonds. Now, finally, for Saturday, what we got is Radho, and it's in the reverse. I don't know if you can really see it. It's kind of fading, but it looks like a letter R, but it's upside down. Okay. Now, Radho in the reverse means an upset of plans. It means delays and unexpected travel, feeling lost or in crisis. It talks about rigidity and stasis. It talks about feeling a sense of injustice and irrationality. Again, we're speaking about the karmic here, or karmics. I don't know if it's plural, singular. It'll be different for each and everybody out there. But it talks about disruptions and dislocations. It talks about being demoted or possibly even fired from a job. It talks about delusions, and it even talks about, unfortunately, the possibility of a death. Now, we've seen that actually echoed a couple of times this week in some of the runes, where suicide may be, upon somebody's mind. So, again, just keep that in the back of your head and focus, on those people that are around you. Doesn't mean become paranoid or anything like that, but be aware, okay? Somebody in your sphere of influence is in this energy, whoever it may be. Now, in magic, Radho is basically a rune that represents the blessed journey. We're seeking the blessings of the gods and goddesses, if you will, while embarking on a great journey of some type. You can go ahead and place it upon your luggage, place it upon yourself, and even your pets or whatever for protection while you journey. Not just physically either, also in journeys of shamanic sense or spiritual sense. Okay? So again, the overall energy for the week is letting us know that the karmics are really going through it. And I don't know if that's going to make you happier or whatever, depending on your particular situation. But it also gives us a warning that they may be working their way back to you. They're looking for some way out of all of this, these feelings and all of the karma that's coming their way. Now remember, if you help them out, and I'm not telling you not to do it, but I am letting you know that by doing so, you're going to be inheriting some of their karma. That's just the way that it works. So it's good to have empathy, but remember, we all reap what it is that we've sown. So if we put out negative or evil energy, low vibrations out there, inevitably you know, the laws of reciprocity in the universe, or cause and effect as we like to see it. Forever action is, you know, equal and opposite reaction. Laws of physics also dictate these very same laws and principles that the ancient world has already given us, you know, many, many thousands of years beforehand. So they're getting what it is that they put out there. And they may have done some very, very awful things. So you must be aware of that. It's good to have empathy and so on and so forth, but act wisely, not just emotionally, okay? I know a lot of you are empathic. Myself, I try to help people where I can, but I've had to learn some very difficult lessons in my life, which helped me to get beyond the idea or the notion that our job is simply to take everybody else's burdens upon us. It's not true. It's not. And you're enabling people, and they're never going to learn their lessons or evolve or grow or anything like that if you're removing the burden from them that they themselves have earned for themselves. Now, that's not to say we don't help one another, but be wise. Be wise as serpents, as they say, right? I mean, it's found in Christendom, and the serpent wasn't always looked at as being evil. In fact, the rest of the world, for the most part, sees him as being quite wise. And even Jesus says, be wise as the serpent. So there's more to that than meets the eye, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time just talking about that right now. But that's the overall energy for the week. I'm going to do a reading here in a minute about this day specifically, and I'll be doing that throughout the week as I used to do quite regularly, and hopefully I'll be able to start posting here again. With that being said, I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye. Peace out.